Hi, this is Veronica. I chose to do my poetry assignment on the piece Moonlight by Sarah Teasdale. And I chose, okay. I chose this poem because, I don't know, I was just initially drawn to how simple it was. And then, I obviously explored some of the themes, which we'll get into later. I also realized that this is backwards, so I'm sorry, but I'll upload the slides as well in my assignment. Okay, so just a little background about our author. Teasdale was born in St. Louis, Missouri in 1884 to a wealthier family, and then later in her life she moved and then resided in New York City with her husband. That kind of had a tragic ending, but we will get there in a second. Yeah, she's classified as a lyric poet, and her style, she definitely had like a feminist flair with a conversational and like confessional nature. I mean, I think, she was born in 1884. She was kind of experiencing this time period as a woman that's obviously going to take a toll on your identity. And I think after reading this piece and some of her, like a few of her other pieces very briefly, she definitely wrote from a strong place of identity. Like, she was writing about how she felt. She might not have explicitly said it, like, I feel like this, but it was very universal and sort of like centered around womanhood, but not in like a completely like not in like a selfish way, not in like a this is just for women way, this is for everyone. So I just thought that that was really interesting and cool. So according to Britannica.com, her poems are consistently classical in style, which I can definitely agree with, but they're so simple, and they don't have a lot of fluff in them. They're very just like nonsensical not nonsensical words. They're very just straightforward and to the point, but they really hit where they need to. So I think that, it's a great tell of a great author. So it is also said that she wrote technically like excellent, which I can also see. Like, she had, great intelligence, but she also wrote from the heart, I think. At least that's what my interpretation was. Yeah, open-hearted lyrics, usually in a conventional verse style, such as sonnet. So she kind of like wrote in these sonnet forms. I didn't really take a look at any of her longer pieces, but we'll see the form for this one in a few seconds. So just a little bit about her life. I feel like it was important to include her awards. So for this piece, Love Song, that she did, she won 2 awards: the Columbia Poetry Prize, which is now known as the Pulitzer Prize, and the Poetry Society of America Foundation Prize, according to Poetry Foundation. I mean, any kind of success from a woman at this point in time is super commendable and super amazing. And I think that this just goes to show how intelligent she was and, how gifted she was. So unfortunately, it has been said that she became disillusioned later in life, but I think that it was a term probably used loosely upon some reading. She kind of just became depressed and ultimately committed suicide in 1933. She was 49 years old when she committed suicide, and especially after reading this piece, I think it's just interesting, like, how her life played out, and because you can see her view on life itself. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I'll get into that in a second when we analyze her piece. So now I'm going on to the actual piece that I decided to analyze. It's called Moonlight. It was written in 1892, and it's a short poem and has themes of beauty and death and love. I think it's a little more than that, but that was according to poemanalysis.com. I think that's true. I think it, in a broad sense, it has, you know, beauty, love, and death kind of all coincided, but I'll get into this later in my analysis. I think that it's more of a commentary on like the bittersweetness of life and of living life. Yeah. And I think they said that these are common themes in her work. Like I said, she very much wrote from like her sense of identity and her womanhood in a sense, and just like how that affected her. So she does use a bunch of well, not a bunch, she uses some imagery of like nature. I remember there's a line from the poem talking about like snakes in the lake, which I'll read in a second. I have the poem on here. There are only 2 stanzas. It's a very short poem, and there's 5 lines in each stanza, which honestly that initially drew me to that poem. Yes, because it was short, but also I feel like I resonate most with these like shorter, kind of just like to the point poems, because I feel like I understand them better, and I feel like it's, you know, I love long pieces and that are very nuanced and complex, but like when something is just so short and kind of like to the point, I feel like it just it translates really well for me, and I usually like feel something. I'm like, oh yeah, which is kind of what happened with this piece. So there's no rhyme scheme at all, but I would definitely say that the piece has a flow to it. I guess you can decipher for yourself. I'll read it, I think, on the next slide or the slide after that. I wanted to include the poem just to kind of make it all cohesive. There we go. So this is her poem. It's called Moonlight again. So it starts, "It will not hurt me when I'm old. A running tide where moonlight burned will not sting me like silver snakes. The years will make me sad and cold. It is happy that the heart breaks. The heart asks more than life can give. When that is learned, then all is learned. The waves break fold on jeweled fold, but beauty itself is fugitive. It will not hurt me when I'm old." So you can see that she repeats the that "it will not hurt me when I'm old" line in the end of each stanza. So there's some repetition, and I think that that was really to just hit the mark on the head of, you know, life is sort of like progressive, and you'll always get older, but you know, things will most likely be okay. So I personally interpret this poem as like a bittersweet love letter to life. That's kind of immediately what I thought of when I read it. I was like, I could definitely see this as kind of like a celestial like love letter. She's expressing the beauty and sorrow that comes with getting old and having life pass you by. And then, you know, I have some evidence here from lines 4 and 5 of the first stanza. She states, "The years will make me sad and cold. It is happy that the heart breaks." I really love that line. Like, you know, using the heartbreak as how she's describing that as happy, like how anonymous that it, or not anonymous, like anti, what's the word? They're antonyms, so it's very like contradictory, but it, you know, brings something beautiful. Life is fleeting and ambivalent, which is super true. We live and learn, and that is beautiful. I think she captured this bittersweet essence perfectly. I kind of just wrote those 2 lines because that's what this poem made me feel. Like, yes, life is short and bittersweet, but we live and we grow and we learn, and, you know, it's hard and it makes us upset sometimes, but that in itself is like a beautiful experience that only really like humans get to experience. And I just have my bibliography, which is all my sources, but just to conclude, I was very interested reading about this poet, and I really do mean that, like, the simplicity of the poem and how short it was just, it it was super informative and super, like, it hit me. I understood fully where she was coming from, and especially learning about her life and like how she felt and and what time era she was in. It made so much sense why she wrote the way she did. Yeah, that's all I have.